The rain hammered the fire escape outside our Brooklyn walk-up like it was trying to break in, but inside, the air was thick with something heavier, silence that buzzed like a live wire. Ethan slammed the door behind him, his leather jacket dripping onto the scuffed hardwood, eyes wild and locked on mine as if I'd just confessed to murder. "Logan, say something, anything, but don't you dare look at me like that," he growled, his voice cracking like thunder, the kind that splits the sky wide open. Couldn't. My heart was a freight train derailing in my chest, words jammed up like twisted metal. We'd crashed through the night together 100 times, road trips from our shitty college dorms in upstate New York, bar crawls in the village where we'd laugh off the world with cheap whiskey. But this was the moment the dam broke. The one where friendship drowned in the flood of everything we'd been pretending not to feel. It started innocently enough. Or at least that's what we'd tell ourselves later, in the wreckage. Ethan and I had been roommates since freshman year at NYU, two small-town kids chasing the American dream in the concrete jungle. I was the steady one, Logan Hayes, from a faded Rust Belt family in Ohio, majoring in film studies with dreams of directing indie flicks that'd make Sundance weep. Ethan Caldwell? He was chaos wrapped in charm. California golden boy with sun-bleached hair and a surfer's drawl that hid the scars from a dad who bailed when he was 12. Theater major, always auditioning for off-Broadway gigs that paid in exposure and heartbreak. We balanced each other, me keeping the rent paid on time, him dragging me to poetry slams where I'd pretend to get the metaphors. That night, though, the city was a beast. A nor'easter had shut down the subways, and our usual crash pad, a buddy's couch in Queens, was flooded. "Screw it," Ethan said, tossing his duffel on the queen-sized bed in our cramped bedroom, the one we'd shoved against the wall after the couch springs gave out last month. "It's big enough for both of us. Like old times, right? Summer camp bunks and all that brome and bullshit." I laughed it off, stripping down to boxers like it was nothing, the room lit only by the blue flicker of my laptop streaming some forgotten Tarantino flick. We sprawled out, shoulders brushing in the dark, the mattress sagging under our weight like it knew what was coming. The movie droned on, pistols and pulp dialogue, but my mind was elsewhere, tracing the line of his arm in the shadows, the way his chest rose and fell with that easy rhythm I'd memorized without trying. Then it happened. Halfway through the credits, Ethan shifted, mumbling something about the cold seeping through the thin walls. His hand, rough from hauling set pieces, calluses like braille on my skin, brushed my hip. Not accidental, not tentative. It lingered, fingers curling just enough to ignite the air between us. I froze, pulse thundering in my ears louder than the storm outside. My voice was a whisper, barely audible over the rain. He didn't pull away. Instead, his thumb traced a slow circle, sending sparks up my spine that lit every nerve on fire. "Logan," he breathed, turning toward me, his eyes catching the laptop's glow like embers. And just like that, the rules shattered. His lips found mine in the dark, tentative at first, then hungry, like he'd been starving for years. Hands roamed, breaths mingled, and the world narrowed to the heat of his body against mine, the taste of salt and regret on his tongue. We didn't talk about it after. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, the rain reduced to a drizzle that mirrored the awkward drip of our morning coffee. Ethan bolted for an audition, muttering about traffic on the BQE, leaving me tangled in sheets that smelled like him, ocean salt and cheap cologne. I stared at the ceiling cracks, mapping them like constellations, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. But the ache in my chest said no. This wasn't some drunken hookup. It was the unraveling of the only constant I'd ever known. Days blurred into a tense routine. We'd dodge eye contact over takeout lo mein, the apartment feeling smaller, the walls closing in like they were eavesdropping. Ethan landed a callback for a queer indie play off-Broadway. Ironic, right? And threw himself into rehearsals, coming home late with scripts clutched like shields. I'd edit footage on my laptop, headphones blasting Springsteen to drown out the what-if screaming in my head. One night, after a particularly brutal day, me bombing a short film pitch, him getting ghosted by his agent, I cracked. We were on the fire escape, passing a joint under the sodium hum of streetlights, the city sprawl below us a glittering apology for all its broken promises. That night, I started, exhaling smoke that curled like question marks. Was it real? Ethan's laugh was bitter, like biting into a lemon. Real, Logan? Man, when have we ever been anything but? He leaned back against the railing, his knee knocking mine, sending that familiar jolt through me. I've been fighting it since orientation week. You, with your stupid mixtapes and that smile that could disarm a bomb. But we're bros, right? Brothers don't complicate shit. The word hung there, heavy as the humidity clinging to our skin. I wanted to argue, to grab his shirt and pull him close like in the movies, but fear clamped down hard. Instead, I nodded, passing the joint back, our fingers brushing in an echo of that first touch. Yeah. Brothers. But lies like that don't stick in New York. They fester. Weeks later, at a cast party in a loft in Williamsburg, exposed brick and fairy lights strung like spiderwebs, things escalated. Ethan was magnetic as always, charming the room with monologues from his script. But his eyes kept finding mine across the crowd, dark and pulling like undertow. I nursed a beer, chatting up a producer who droned about grants. But my focus was on the way Ethan's laugh lit up when someone mentioned Stonewall. When the night wound down, we stumbled out into the crisp fall air, the East River a black ribbon under the bridge lights. Walk with me, he said. Not a question, his hand grazing my back as we headed toward the water. No one around, just us and the distant honk of cabs. He stopped under a lamppost, the light haloing his hair like some goddamn Renaissance painting. Fuck the rules, Logan. I can't pretend anymore. His kiss was fire this time, desperate, all teeth and tongue, hands fisting in my jacket like he'd drown if he let go. We backed against the chain-link fence, the river lapping below, and for those stolen minutes, the city faded. It was just us, breath sinking, bodies aligning in a rhythm we'd both known by heart but never admitted. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed together, he whispered, "This is us now." No going back. I believed him. God, how I believed him. But belief's a fragile thing in a town that chews up dreams and spits out dust. Winter hit Brooklyn like a sucker punch, sidewalks slick with ice, the wind off the harbor slicing through parkas like they were paper. Ethan and I fell into this new rhythm, a secret symphony amid the chaos. Mornings were stolen glances over burnt toast, his foot hooking mine under the kitchen table, a silent promise in the steam rising from our mugs. Nights, they blurred into a haze of tangled limbs and whispered confessions. The bed that started it all now a sanctuary where we'd map each other's scars with lips and fingertips. It wasn't all poetry, though. Ethan's rehearsals ramped up for the play, echoes in the attic, A gut-wrenching piece about two men loving in the shadow of the AIDS crisis. Parallels that hit too close. He'd come home wired, pacing our shoebox living room, reciting lines that echoed our own unspoken fears. "What if it's all just an act?" he'd mutter, collapsing onto the couch, head in my lap as I ran fingers through his hair. "What if I'm just playing the part?" I'd shush him, pulling him up for a kiss that tasted like doubt and desire. "You're not acting with me. This is real." And in those moments, it was the way his body fit against mine like it was carved from the same stone. The soft vulnerability when he'd let me hold him after nightmares of his absent dad. We talked futures then, me pitching a doc on queer icons of the '80s, him dreaming of Broadway lights. "We'll make it," he'd say, tracing tattoos on my forearm, a faded anchor from my Navy-curious teen years. "You and me against the assholes." But the world outside wasn't kind to secrets. My film prof cornered me after class one sleety afternoon, her office reeking of patchouli and stale coffee. "Hayes, your latest cut. It's got heart, kid, but it's hiding." "What's eating you?" I mumbled something about writer's block, but her eyes narrowed, sharp as a switchblade. "Love's a bitch, isn't it? Don't let it script your life." She wasn't wrong. That night, I spilled to Ethan over greasy slices from Luigi's, the kind with cheese that strings like regret. "What if someone finds out, at school, you're cast?" He waved it off, sauce smudged on his chin, grinning that lopsided smile that melted defenses. "Let M. I'm done hiding, Logan." You think I give a fuck about whispers in the green room? But his eyes flickered, uncertainty masked as bravado. The next day, he posted a cryptic Insta story, a black and white shot of two shadows merging on a bridge, captioned "Rules were made to be broken." Likes poured in, comments from castmates with rainbow emojis. Mine was a heart, hidden in the flood. The holidays loomed like a storm front. I headed back to Ohio for a tense Thanksgiving. Mom's turkey dry as her passive-aggressive jabs about finding a nice girl, Dad nursing a beer in silence, the family farmhouse creaking under the weight of unspoken disappointments. I texted Ethan nonstop, "Miss your laugh," echoing off these cornfields. He'd fire back pics from a cast ski trip upstate, him in a beanie, cheeks flushed, but always with a group, never alone. "Wish you were here to warm me up." One read, a knife twist of longing. New Year's Eve. I raced back on a Greyhound that smelled like wet dog and regret, arriving just as the ball dropped on TV. Ethan was waiting, apartment strung with dollar store lights, a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, stolen from a rap party, chilling in the sink. "To us," he toasted, clinking plastic flutes, his free hand slipping under my shirt, palm hot against my skin. We made love on the living room floor, fireworks booming outside like applause, his name a mantra on my lips as the clock struck 12. January brought the first fracture. Ethan's play opened to mixed reviews, raw but uneven. The Times called it, praising his smoldering intensity while nitpicking the script. He spiraled, drowning doubts in dive bar shots, coming home reeking of gin and other men's cologne. "It's nothing," he'd slur when I'd confront him, eyes glassy. "Just networking, babe. You know how it is." I'd bite my tongue, hold him through the shakes. But the seed of doubt took root, twisting like kudzu. One blizzard night, buried under quilts with takeout containers as ashtrays, we bared it all. "I love you," he said first, voice muffled against my neck, the words a grenade in the quiet. I'd been holding them like contraband, terrified of the fallout. God, I love you too. Have for years. Tears came then, his, hot and unashamed. Mine, silent rivers down my cheeks. We laughed through them, bodies entwining in a slow burn that chased away the cold. Promise me, I whispered as sleep tugged. No more hiding, he promised. But promises in the city are as cheap as subway tokens. February's Valentine's was a fever dream. I surprised him with tickets to a midnight screening of Brokeback Mountain at an indie theater in the East Village. Ironic. Yeah. But fitting. We held hands in the dark. The screen's glow illuminating his profile, sharp and beautiful. Afterward, wandering snow-dusted streets, he stopped under a bodega awning, pulling a velvet box from his coat. Inside, a silver keychain etched with our rules, shaped like a tiny Brooklyn bridge. For the apartment, he said, shy grin cracking his cool. But really, for everything. My gift was simpler, a leather-bound journal, pages filled with scribbled scenes from our life. The time we skinny-dipped in the Gowanus, the night we howled Springsteen lyrics from the rooftop. He flipped through, eyes misting. You're the writer, Logan. Make our story epic. We did, for a while. Picnics in Prospect Park when spring teased. Lazy Sundays binging The Wire with his head on my thigh. But the cast parties lingered like smoke. Ethan's phone buzzing at odd hours. Him slipping out for quick drinks that stretched till dawn. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Jealousy a acid in my gut. Then came the callback from L.A. A big-shot director had seen the play, wanted Ethan for a pilot. Queer leads, streaming gold. This could be it, he crowed over diner eggs. Eyes alight. West Coast. Baby, you come with, right? We conquer Hollywood together. I wanted to. God, I did. But my thesis film was due. Grants pending. Soon, I promised, kissing his knuckles. I'll follow, he nodded, but the light dimmed. That night, making love felt like grasping at smoke, fierce, but fleeting. Spring erupted in Brooklyn like a confession. Cherry blossoms rioting pink against the gray tenements, the air thick with possibility and the faint rot of the canals. Ethan's L.A. audition loomed, a siren call that had him packing scripts into his duffel like ammunition. Our apartment buzzed with tension, half thrilled, half terrified, every goodbye kiss laced with the unspoken fear that distance devours. The night before his flight, we walked the promenade in Dumbo, Manhattan's skyline a jagged promise across the river. Tourists milled with ice cream cones, oblivious to the ache in my chest as Ethan's hand swung loose in mine, hidden in the crowd. What if it's too good? He mused, voice low against the ferry horns. The gig, the city. What if I fit better there? You fit here, I said, pulling him into an alcove by the railings, lips brushing his ear. With me. We'll make it work. FaceTime fucks and weekend red ice. He laughed, but it was hollow, his arms tightening around me like a lifeline. Back home, we burned the hours in bed, bodies a frantic map of memories, slow at first, then urgent, as if we could etch ourselves indelible. I love you, he gasped against my throat, and I echoed it back. Prayer. He left at dawn, cab idling like an impatient lover. I pressed against the window, watching taillights swallow him into the morning fog, the apartment echoing empty without his chaos. The first weeks were a grind. My days blurred in the editing bay, splicing footage of forgotten protests into something coherent. Nights scrolling Ethan's Insta, glossy shots of palm trees and casting calls, captions laced with Miss East Coast vibes. We'd video chat at odd hours. Him poolside at some agent's bungalow, me hunched over ramen in sweatpants. "It's surreal," he'd say, voice crackling over the line. "But it's not home without you." Hayes. Then the call came, he booked it. Led in Sunset Fault Lines, a gritty drama about fractured queer families in Silver Lake. "We're moving, babe," he hooped, screen splitting his grin wide. I forced a smile, heart somersaulting, pride warring with panic. "Congrats." "Knew you would." We toasted through pixels, but the lag mirrored the growing gap. I flew out for the table read, LA. Hitting like a fever dream. Endless freeways snaking under smoggy skies, the hills mocking with their sprawl. Ethan picked me up in a rental Mustang, top down, wind whipping his hair, and we drove Mulholland, city lights sprawling below like fallen stars. His new place was a sun-drenched one-bed in Echo Park. Posters of Brando and Bowie tacked haphazardly. "Our Hollywood chapter," he declared, scooping me up, legs rapping as we christened the kitchen counter. The read-through was electric, co-stars bantering like old flames, the creator a wiry queer icon who'd optioned my thesis pitch years back. Ethan shone, his voice weaving vulnerability and fire, but afterward, at the rooftop rap bash, cracks showed. A producer, slick suit, sharper eyes, clapped Ethan's shoulder too long, murmuring about private notes. I nursed a seltzer, chatting with the writer, but my gaze tracked them to a shadowed corner, laughter spilling like secrets. "Jealous," Ethan teased later, buzzed on Rose, as we tumbled into bed. His hands were everywhere, distracting, devouring. "Nah," I lied, arching into him. "Just protective," he stilled, eyes searching mine in the moonlight slanting through blinds. "Logan, the showbiz. Flirt to survive. But you're the endgame." We made love then, slow and anchoring, his whispers of forever chasing shadows. I flew back alone, the red eye a cocoon of what-ifs. Production ramped, Ethan's texts thinning, long day, babe. Love you replaced by stories of craft services and clinking glasses. My film premiered at a Tribeca Short Fest to polite applause, a queer curator pulling me aside. "It's got bones, Hayes. Flesh it out with your truth." I wanted to, but truth felt slippery, Ethan's absence a hollow in my ribs. Summer scorched in, humidity turning Brooklyn to steam. A package arrived, the journal I'd given him, mailed back with a note, "Fuel for your next script. Miss you fierce." Pages were filled. Sketches of our nights, poems jagged with longing. One entry gutted me. "Logan's eyes in the rain. That's the shot that breaks you. Don't let go." Emboldened, I booked a ticket for his rap party, surprising him. LAX was a zoo, but the drive to the venue, a sprawling WeHo club pulsing with bass, felt like homecoming. I spotted him across the room, mid-laugh with that producer, arms slung casual, too casual. My stomach nodded, but I pushed through, tapping his shoulder. Surprise. Superstar. His face lit like Christmas, pulling me into a crush of bodies, lips claiming mine fierce and public. You came. The night dissolved into shots and spins on the dance floor, his body grinding mine to synth-pop beats, sweat slick and alive. In a bathroom stall, quick and dirty, he gasped my name like salvation. But dawn brought the hangover and the truth. Curled in his sheets, phone buzzing ignored, he confessed over room service eggs. The producer. Alex. It's nothing physical, but the offers. Dinners. Connections. It's the game. Logan. His eyes pleaded, but I saw the fracture. The game doesn't love you back, I said, voice steel. We do, he nodded, kissing my palm. You're right. End of story, but stories lie. Back in Brooklyn, distance stretched like taffy, sweet till it snaps. Ethan's pilot got picked up for series. Buzz building, breakout queer heartthrob. Pap shots trickled, him at premieres, arm in arm with co-stars, captions winking just friends. I drowned in edits, my own script a semi-auto on us gaining traction with a small prodco. Then the call. Not his, but mine. A dev from Netflix, loving the queer angle, wanting notes. Infuse more conflict, she said. Betrayal hits hard. I laughed bitter, hanging up to Ethan's voicemail. Hey, babe. Crazy week. Call soon. He did. 2 days later, voice thick. I fucked up. Logan, my blood iced. Alex pushed, dinner turned to. I don't know. One drink too many. It meant nothing. The world tilted. Betrayal a blade between ribs. Nothing, echoed. Voice shattering. Then why tell me like it's a footnote? Silence stretched. Oceans wide. Because I love you. And I hate myself. I hung up. The apartment spinning. Days bled. Numb runs along the waterfront. Whiskey nights staring at his keychain on the sill. When he flew east for a press junket, I met him at JFK. Face stone. Fix it, I said in the cab. Rain sheeting windows. Or we're done, he tried. God. He tried, candles in the apartment. His body an apology. Words tumbling like rain. You're my anchor. My everything. We rebuilt. Fragile as new glass. But the crack lingered. Spiderwebbing. Fall leaves turned the park to fire, mirroring the burn in my gut. Ethan's show premiered to rave reviews, Caldwell's raw magnetism steal scenes, and he FaceTimed from afterparties. Eyes earnest. Come out permanent. Let's do this right. I wavered, my script selling to a streamer, a foot in the door. Soon, I promised again, the word a lie we both tasted. Then the rooftop. That night, the one the image captures. Rain lashed as we argued. His LA lease up for renewal. My offer to sublet Brooklyn ignored. You're choosing the lights over us, I yelled, tears mixing with downpour. He reached, hand trembling, echo of that first touch, but I stepped back. The rules changed. You changed them. His face crumpled, city lights fracturing in puddles. I never meant to break us, but breaks don't mend clean. The fallout from the rooftop was a slow bleed, the kind that leaves you pale and hollow before you notice the wound. Ethan flew back to LA. The next morning, our goodbye a ghost of airport hugs, his duffel slung over one shoulder, my hand lingering too long on his arm before the security line swallowed him. Call me when you land, I muttered, voice raw from crying in the cab. He nodded, eyes red-rimmed, and mouthed I love you as he vanished into the scrum. Brooklyn felt like a mausoleum after. His half of the closet gaping empty, coffee mugs mismatched without his chipped favorite. I threw myself into the script rewrite, the Netflix dev pushing for more grit, lean into the betrayal arc. Irony burned, but it fueled pages. Scenes of lovers fracturing under spotlights, one chasing fame's hollow glow while the other clung to roots. Late nights, I'd pace the fire escape, joints smoldering, staring at the bridge where we'd first crossed the line. What if we'd stopped at bros, but regret's a thief, stealing sleep and sanity? Friends noticed. My roommate swap, a film classmate named Riley, all tattoos and wry smiles, moved in, her presence a buffer against the quiet. "You look like shit, Hayes," she'd say over shared burritos, tossing me a beer. "Spill or I'll cast you as the tragic lead in my next short." I cracked a smile, but the word stuck. Ethan texts dwindled to check-ins, filming hell. "Miss you," punctuated by tabloid blurbs. Caldwell and co-star. More than on-screen chemistry? Grainy shots of him laughing at a premiere. Arm around Alex, the producer, who looked too polished, too knowing. Thanksgiving loomed again. A family gauntlet I dreaded. Mom's calls were laced with worry. "You sound thin, Logan." That boy's trouble always was. She meant Ethan, her small-town radar pinging on the roommate label I'd clung to. Dad just grunted over the line. "Men provide, son. Don't let dreams derail ya." I flew home anyway. The Midwest flatlands a bomb and a bruise, corn stubble frosted white, the farmhouse sagging under years of unkept promises. Ethan called on Turkey Day, voice tinny from cross-country. "Happy whatever, babe." Eating Kraft turkey alone. Laughter forced, but underneath. "Wish I was there," I said, stepping onto the porch, breath fogging in the chill. Stuffing wars and all. Silence stretched. Then me too. Loges. About Alex. It was one night, stupid and drunk. But you're it. Always. I wanted to believe. Throat tight. Prove it. "Come home," he hummed non-committal, promising holiday visits. Christmas came barbed. A package from LA, wrapped in newsprint inside, a vintage film reel of Brokeback, labeled our origin story. Note, watch alone. Think of me in the mountains. I did. Projector whirring in the empty apartment. Ennis and Jack's stolen glances mirroring ours. The finality hitting like a gut punch. Tears came unbidden. Riley finding me curled on the floor. "Fuck chivalry," she said, dragging me to a queer bar in Bushwick, neon hearts and drag queens lip-syncing Gaga. Shots burned. Acute sound tech bought rounds. But my eyes scanned shadows for sun-bleached hair. New Year ticked over in a haze of house parties. Ethan's FaceTime popping up at midnight. Him in a Santa hat. Co-stars cheering behind. "To fresh starts," he toasted, but his smile faltered. "Logan's ghosting me," a castmate heckled. He winced. "Nah, he's my North Star." We chatted post-midnight, pixels bridging the miles, but the lag echoed the drift. Winter thawed into a muddy spring. My script greenlit for a limited series, Fractured Frames, a nod to us without naming names. Casting calls buzzed. "We need chemistry that bleeds," the director emailed. I flew to LA. For a weekend, pitching vibes over vegan tacos in Venice. Ethan crashed the meeting, all charm and chaos, sealing deals with his grin. "Told you we'd conquer," he whispered later. In his trailer, mirrors fogging as we reclaimed space, bodies remembering what words forgot. But LA's glamour was a veneer, cracking under scrutiny. Paparazzi swarmed his set visits. Whispers of Caldwell's coming out arc fueling trades. Alex lingered like a bad sequel. Texts I glimpsed. Miss our talks. Doors open. Ethan deleted them in front of me. Jaw set. Water under the bridge. Babe. Yet doubt festered. My jealousy a low hum. Back east. Production ramped. Table reads in a loft near the High Line. Actors fumbling lines that echoed too true. The lead, a broad-shouldered actor named Jax, nailed the vulnerability, his eyes locking on mine during a betrayal scene. Personal? He asked post-rehearsal. Beers in hand at a dive-off bleaker. I shrugged. Life's the best script. He nodded, hand brushing mine accidental on purpose. If you need a co-writer. Guilt twisted. But so did temptation, Jax's easy laugh. Uncomplicated like pre-Ethan days. I pulled back, texting F, miss your mess. He replied hours later, ditto. Busy week. Love you. The snap came Memorial Day. A blind item in Variety. TV heartthrobs off-screen entanglement with producer spells trouble for mystery bow. Comments exploded, fans shipping Calder. Speculation rife. I confronted him via video, screen splitting his hotel room from my fire escape. Is this us? The trouble? His face crumpled, pixels blurring tears. It spun. Logan. Alex leaked it for buzz. But yeah. We hooked up again. Once. After a bad rap. I was lost without you. The blade twisted deeper. Lost? Or chasing the high? Silence. Then both. But I choose you. Every time. Lies erode like acid rain. I hung up, blocking the noise, his calls, the trades, the what-ifs. Riley staged an intervention over Pierogies. Babe, you're drowning in his wake. Cut the line. Jax echoed it gentler. Over coffee in the park. You're gold. Logan. Don't let tarnish stick. Summer solstice burned hot. My shoot commencing in the Pine Barrens, Jersey woods standing in for upstate escapes. On location, away from signals, clarity crept. Ethan's touch started the fire, but we'd let it rage unchecked. A care package arrived midweek. His journal, updated, pages of apologies inked raw. I broke us because I feared losing me. Forgive? E. I didn't reply. Instead, I channeled it into the finale. Lovers on a rooftop. Rain washing sins. One hand reaching, the other pulling away. Cut! The director yelled, but the ache lingered. Ethan showed unannounced. End of principal photography, rental car crunching gravel. Him in aviators and a faded NYUT. Looking like the boy who'd shared my bed. I quit the show, he said. No preamble. Gravel voice thick. Told the studio, personal leave. For this, he held up a USB, his audition tape for my series, reading Jax's lines opposite Air Me. Thunderstruck, I pulled him into the cabin. Words tumbling, accusations, hurts, the raw edge of love battered but breathing. Why now? I demanded, backs against the wall, inches apart. Because losing you? That's the real biopic. From boy lost to manhole. His hand moved slow, deliberate, cupping my jaw, thumb tracing my lip like that first night. I leaned in, kissed salt and surrender, bodies crashing like waves on forgotten shores. We spent the week in seclusion. hikes through fern-choked trails, nights by the fire where confessions crackled like logs. I was scared, he admitted, head on my chest. Fame's a mirror, shows you ugly. But you see the light. I forgave. Tentative therapy apps downloaded. Boundaries sketched like scene cards. Back in Brooklyn, cohabitation resumed, his LA. Ties severed, my series in post. We attended Pride on Flatbush, hands linked public, rainbows painting our faces. But healing's not linear. Nightmares woke him sweating, my trust a fragile bloom. Fall whispered warnings, leaves turning, winds sharpening. Jack's cornered me at rap, he's lucky. But if I shut it down, loyal to the rebuild. Then the call, Ethan's agent, frantic. The studio's pissed, suing for breach. Alex is spinning it as scandal. Trades lit up. Caldwell's queer meltdown. Love or leverage. Betrayal's echo roared back. You said you quit clean, I accused, pacing our kitchen as he stared at his phone, face ashen. I did. But Alex, he had dirt. Leaked emails. Our nights. It's war now. The fracture widened. Old wounds suppurating. Us against the world? I laughed. Bitter. Or just you against your ghosts? He reached, hand trembling again. But this time, I held it, steeling for the storm. The lawsuit hit like a California earthquake, aftershocks rippling from LA. To our Brooklyn stoop, where tabloid vans idled like vultures. Ethan's phone was a minefield. Voicemails from lawyers' barking clauses. Texts from ex-castmates offering pity or shade. Breach of morality rider. His agent spat over speaker, voice tinny with panic. Alex claims you violated NDA with your personal disclosures. Translation. Our love, weaponized. Ethan paced the living room, hair tousled from raking fingers. That golden boy glow dulled to ash. It's bullshit, Logan. I never signed anything binding my life, but doubt crept in his eyes, the kind that questions foundations. I brewed coffee strong as resolve, sliding a mug his way. Fight it. We fight it. Together, he nodded, but the weight bowed him, interviews canceled, gigs drying up like reservoirs in drought. I wrapped my series early, the director merciful. Take the time, Hayes. Life's the real plot twist. Nights, we'd huddle on the couch. The Sopranos droning therapy sessions we couldn't afford. His head heavy on my shoulder. What if I dragged you down? He'd murmur, breath warm against my neck. You're not an anchor. You're the sail. Lies, half true, but they bought sleep. The legal grind was a meat grinder. Depositions in a stuffy midtown office, where suited sharks grilled Ethan on inappropriate conduct. Code for loving a man in a town that preached inclusion but cashed checks on closets. Alex's camp painted him as the victim. Jilted producer, heartthrob's reckless fling. Leaks dripped, grainy pics of their nights, twisted to imply coercion. Ethan's face on TMZ, queer star's downfall, drugs, drama, and deception, public backlash split. Allies rallied with justice for Caldwell hashtags, queer orgs decrying the homophobia. Trolls spewed vitriol, doxing our address till Riley booby-trapped the buzzer with glitter bombs. I fielded calls from my own camp, Netflix waffling on release. Optics, Logan. We love the story, but fury boiled. I wrote op-eds for The Advocate, fingers flying, Love isn't leverage. It's the line we draw. Through it, Ethan's hand sought mine. In courtrooms, on subways, under diner tables, that first touches echo. Grounding. Remember the bed? He'd whisper during lulls. Squeezing. One move, and here we are. I'd squeeze back. Heart a war drum, but love's a stubborn weed, thriving in cracks. Winter clamped down again. Holidays a hurdle. We skipped families. Mine too judgmental. His estranged, opting for a road trip upstate. The same woods where my film shot. Snow muffled the world. Cabin fires our confessional. Over mulled wine, he bared the boy beneath. Dad left because I was too soft. Code for the lisp. The theater dreams. Alex, he saw that. Fed it. Made me feel wanted. Till you reminded me I was whole. Tears froze on window panes. I held him, bodies aligning in forgiveness's slow dance. We're the rewrite, I said, kissing salt from his lashes. No more drafts. New Year dawned crisp. The suit settling out of court. Ethan's silence for their payout. A gag order sealing lips. Pyrrhic, his lawyer grumbled, but freedom tasted sweet. He auditioned small, off-Broadway revivals, voiceover gigs that paid rent without selling soul. I directed a short for a queer fest, Touchpoint, a vignette of hands bridging divides, premiering to tears and standing O's. Spring bloomed tentative, cherry trees a pink apology. Ethan's agent called, a indie film in the Catskills, leads queer and unapologetic. Low stakes, high heart, he said, grin cracking. We drove up for the callback. Windows down. Springsteen blasting Thunder Road, our anthem. On a porch overlooking valleys, he nailed the reed, vulnerability raw. Love a quiet roar. Booked. We celebrated in a roadside diner, pie a la mode melting like barriers. This time, he vowed, fork midway, no compromises. You direct our sequel, back in the city, life-stitched seams, joint therapy in a village brownstone, where a no-nonsense counselor unpacked our baggage, his abandonment ghosts, my fear of abandonment. Communication's the sexiest foreplay, she quipped, and we laughed, hands linked on the worn couch. Pride swelled the streets electric, us marching hand in hand, signs reading love rewrites rules. Jacks waved from the floats, no hard feelings. Riley catwalked beside, glitter cannon blazing. That night, rooftop party our spot, string lights warding rain. Ethan pulled me aside, city hum below. Marry me, not a ring, but the keychain, bridge etched deeper. Not legal yet everywhere, but us, eternal. Tears pricked, I kissed him fierce. Yes. Rewrite the ending. Summer unfurled golden. My series dropping to acclaim. Critics lauding the tender betrayal. Redemptive arc. Ethan guested in an EP. Their chemistry meta. Healing. We road-tripped the coast, Amtrak to San Fran. Fog-kissed bridges echoing Brooklyn's. Pausing in Big Sur. Cliffs dropping to sea like leaps of faith. Fall brought harvest. His film wrapped. Buzz building for TIFF. At the fest. Red carpet awkward but ours. Arms linked. Flashes popping like stars. Post-screening Q&A. A journo probed. The love story personal? Ethan glanced my way. Hand finding mine under the table. All of it. One touch. And the rules changed. Best plot twist ever. Winter circled gentle this time. No storms. Just snow globe quiet. Christmas in the farmhouse. Mom thawing over Ethan's pieced-together backstory. Dad clapping his back gruff. Welcome, son. New Year's on our fire escape. Joint passed. Resolutions whispered. Stay. Build. Love louder. The bed that started it sagged still, but now it cradled futures. Scripts scrawled on nightstands. Dreams shared in breaths. One night, rain pattering like applause, Ethan's hand moved again. Deliberate. Home. Everything between us, he murmured, lips curving. Worth every rewrite. And in that touch, the story settled. Not perfect, but human, two men, flawed and fierce, rewriting rules in a world that bends but doesn't break. Fade out on dawn's light, filtering through blinds, illuminating the mess we'd made our own. The end? Not just the intermission.